Chicago.
Crypto family in the building, what up? It is your host, Crypto Glenn. I want to say thank you for joining me for another installment of the Crypto Glenn Night live stream. Got a special show for y'all. We are talking about tokenized assets part 3. And there's a lot that we need to unpack here, right? Taking a look at just some things that have kind of come across Forbes. I think the space is going to be significantly larger than a lot of us originally anticipated. And with that conversation comes positioning, right? There's going to be no shortage of political figures, pundits on TV, talking heads on the radio or on social media, talking about what the price of Bitcoin is going to do over the next handful of months, over the next handful of years. There's not going to be any escaping that. There's going to be some who are on the fence of saying, hey, I don't know where it's going to go. There's going to be some on the side of this thing is going to appreciate rapidly. There's going to be some who are on the side of this thing is going to zero, right? There's going to be no shortage of that talk. But when you start to sift through the weeds, what you are going to realize sooner rather than later is what matters most importantly through any of this is going to be positioning. And while we've been covering tokenized assets, RWAs on this channel, there's new information that's being brought to my attention, at least tonight, that's been put out by Forbes. As a report that has it, if the market value for real world assets is at $60 billion, at least 7,000 products face significant activity paradox. As one individual puts it in this report, while there are assets that are being tokenized, money market funds, stable coins, stocks, there is a lion's share of assets that the majority of people who are in this space are completely not even privy to. Now that gets just a little bit more interesting when you listen to how some of these are framed. If these products, while they may have been tokenized, are not actually out in circulation, in fact, as one individual puts it, they're being held in a waiting room. And one of the things that is going to act as the linchpin for some of those tokenized assets coming out and being made available to public markets are things like legislation, clarity. We've all had our ideas of how significant the Clarity Act is going to be. Satoshi, I appreciate that. Heart me, man. Thank you. We've all had this idea of how important the Clarity Act is going to be to crypto. And there have been people who have said, I don't necessarily understand how it's going to affect the digital assets that I necessarily invest in. And I think tonight we're going to be able to bridge that gap. Jennifer, I appreciate you sending a heart me. Thank you so much, Jen. Because what I have found from reading out this report, there are tokenized assets that are happening on blockchains that I have not heard anybody talk about. That's not to say like I'm Crypto Glenn, I'm going to cover this thing first. Forget all that. This isn't the ego live, right? What this is telling me and what it should tell you by the time we get to the end of this thing is that this space is significantly larger than what a lot of us originally anticipated. I know that we had the report a couple live streams ago when we did the second installment of tokenized assets. We brought in the subject matter from Bain and McKinsey and Boston Consulting Group, and they said how they expect this space to grow 100x by the end of the decade. When you put 100x on 60 billion, right? We understand the number, but I don't think we really understand, like, can you quantify that? Like, just how large is that? Okay, so if it's 60 billion now, what is 60? I don't know, like at 100, is that like 6,000? 6,000, right? So 60 billion, what is that? 9 zeros, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3, 6, 9, 12. That's $6 trillion. If I'm looking at this correctly, that would be just the market cap alone for tokenized assets. So we're going to get into some of this here, and I hope this is something that people are able to take something away from and say like, oh, damn, these kind of conversations are super important, right? So I'm going to bring this up because I want you all to be able to see it, and I want you all to be able to just kind of take screenshots as you see fit, if if you deem that necessary. And again, this was something that was published on Forbes a couple days ago. And there's a conference, which is why I'm always like so gung-ho on going to conferences. There's a conference, Tokenization and the Financial System Adapting to New Landscape. I believe this was put on by the IMF, so obviously maybe just not anybody can get in. I think you've kind of got to be in the space. I think you've got to be in the industry. For all I know, it might as well even be by invitation only, right? Typically speaking, those have the best information, because a lot of the people who sit at the helm of a lot of these decisions, they're at those kind of conferences. Not to say they're not at the conferences that we go to, because they are, but this one is more of a who's who in the space. So when you take a look at this sector on paper, the market for tokenization and real world assets has never been bigger, according to a report by BN Crypto. I think you all should Google that, try to see if you can get your hands on the report. BN Crypto, BEIN Crypto, tracking more than 7,000 tokenized products across 12 asset classes. When I first started looking at this, I did not think it was about 12. What I was tracking was around 4 to 6. So for me to say, hey, actually, you were off by at least, double, it's pretty impressive. I like the prospects, just showing that, hey, this is going to be a lot bigger landscape than maybe a lot of us, myself included, originally anticipated. Across 12 asset classes, puts the total supply at roughly 60 billion. But what's happening with these tokenized assets? The answer is not very much. Of the 1,289 surveyed tokenized assets above $100,000 in value, 910 of them, representing 32.9 billion, show zero weekly transfer activity. This is going to get interesting. We are going to come back to this here, okay? So what does that say? What that says is whatever blockchain these assets have been tokenized on, right? That value has already that transaction has already taken place. But like I said earlier when I started live, they're not out in circulation right now. If anything, they're kind of sitting behind a bullpen in a waiting room, waiting to be let out of their cages, waiting for legislation to become law, waiting for institutions to figure out what kind of products and how do they want to effectively put these into channels of distribution. Distribution is a point we're going to come back to. The numbers say the quiet part out loud. Tokenization's bottleneck was never a shortage of assets, it's a shortage of access. This is coming from David Taylor, the co-founder of CEO Etherfuse. Which tokenizes sovereign debt from Brazil and Mexico, which is probably going to be a large player here as emerging markets start to see probably the biggest benefit from what we're talking about here in tokenization of assets. Think about it like this. Emerging markets, you got a stock market and an emerging market. There's a lot of growth potential that can happen there. One of the biggest bottlenecks that we face now is if you want to be able to get into an asset that's not on the New York Stock Exchange. It's not on the NASDAQ. It's not on the S&P 500. It's on a different exchange. You've got to wait for it to be brought over to the American exchange unless you're willing to jump through a couple hoops that would allow you access into that market. With tokenization of assets, it's a whole lot less frictionless to take an asset from one stock exchange and bring it over to an ecosystem where people can, buy and sell and trade it 24/7, 365 days, 24 hours a day, right? So again, I think the emerging asset class, when we start talking about tokenized assets, more particular stocks, I think those are going to have the greatest amount of asymmetric opportunity. The article goes on to say here that a 60 billion market that 97% of people can't touch, where half of the assets never moved, isn't a market yet. It's a waiting room. The active market is even more concentrated than the headline figure suggests. Just 62 assets hold 88% of the total market value. And the top 5 figure HeatLock product, Circle's USYC, Tether Gold, BlackRock's Biddle Fund, and Just Tokens JMWH account for roughly half of their own. Now, this is what I found increasingly interesting about this. I remember when BlackRock came out and they said, hey, we've got this fund. It's called Biddle. We're building on Ethereum. A lot of people got super excited about it. But just as fast as people got excited about it, I think what people then came down and said is, well, wait a minute. If this is BlackRock, the largest asset manager on the planet, and they're building on Ethereum, this is super bullish. But why can't we invest directly into it? Right? Where do we go to kind of get involved in the ecosystem, the shenanigans? And the fact of the matter is there was nowhere that you could go. And now it's being publicized in this article here that, it's an active market. It's more concentrated than the headline suggests. But the bottleneck is 97% of people can't even touch it. So we all knew about it, but there was no portal for us to walk through, no door, no bridge, no, you know what I mean? No moat to cross in order to be able to engage with it. And now we know why. The concentration runs deeper still. Circle's USYC holds 2.96 billion across just 44 wallet addresses. It's not a whole lot of wallets. BlackRock's Biddle Fund, 2.4 billion across 109. Still not a whole lot of wallets. 11 products worth more than 100 million are each held by a single address, by the reporter's own framing. The addressable institutional market isn't really 7,000 products. It's closer to just 250, with the actual core of capital deployment sitting in just 62. That is a high level of concentration. Okay. When you come down here, I think this is kind of where my eyebrows started to perk up, right? I'm gonna share with you why. It goes on to say that not all of the 32.9 billion in dormant value reflects the failure to find buyers. Tokenized assets split into two structural types: distributed tokens that move freely on public blockchain rails, represented tokens that function as digital receipts on a closed permission ledger. So this is kind of what you heard a lot about a couple summers ago. People are saying, well, you got Ripple, who's got the public blockchain, but then they also have a permission, right? Or you got Solana that's got their permission, but then they also dabble in the public blockchain. So when you start hearing things being thrown around where they say structural types, those are the assets that are going around on the permissioned blockchains. That's really the sweet spot that people want to know. Hey, what's going where? What's the value and who's involved? That information is going to be a little bit harder for people to get a hold of because, again, it's a permission blockchain. If you don't have access to it, you're not getting that information. Roughly 27 billion of the core market is represented, meaning that it was never designed to transfer publicly in the first place. This is something that I remember during the early stages of the conversation regarding tokenized assets. This was one of the caveats that people would say, right? Because when we, right, you and I, the guy that cuts your hair, your neighbor, maybe your teammate, the person that you bump into at the gym, assuming that all these people are into crypto, into blockchain, we are very familiar with things being placed on a public blockchain, right? That's not foreign to us. We get that. The thing that I think caught a lot of people off guard is when we started, having the conversation of permissioned blockchains and things not being transparent and being out in the open. That is the bit that a lot of people had a problem with, saying like, well, why would they do that? That would never be the case. And now you're getting confirmation directly from people who are sitting in these rooms. What's up, Donovan? Good to see you here, family. Devil Dogs, appreciate that, Harmony, man. Thank you so much. D-Joy as well with the Harmony, appreciate you. Thank you so much. When you start to have these conversations with people who are in the room and they're telling you firsthand, like, hey, roughly 27 billion of core markets represented, meaning that it was never designed to transfer on a public blockchain in the first place. That's got to be a huge slap to a lot of people, because it's one of the things in this space you got to learn how to do. What's up, Crypto Chick? Good to see you here. Appreciate the roses and heart me. Thank you so much. I know she likes getting blown up, so we're going to blow her up. But one of the hardest things that people had to come to grips with is, why wouldn't everything be placed on a public blockchain? Again, this is a thing that we are familiar with. Sometimes you've got to, in order to be successful in this space, you've got to continuously check your own bias, right? Even me, it's been told, Glenn, you come across as like, you believe that you know it all. That's not the case. I'm an extremely confident person, and I've had to be just the many different hats that I've worn in my life, right? Being a father, former division collegiate athlete, a husband. You've got to be confident in these roles, because if you're not, you're probably not going to be a good athlete. You're probably not going to be a good husband. You probably won't be a good father, right? People, they lean on you. They depend on you. In order to get to that, some of you, right, in your own heyday have been Division I collegiate athletes, okay? You know what it takes to have to get to that level. It's not everyone can do it, right? So it's not that it's a know-it-all, but it's the fact that I'm always trying to check my own bias. I'm always trying to confront my own bias. Do I have this right? Can I find information that refutes that? Is that information, if it does refute it, coming in from a credible source? Where am I? I'm always constantly taking my own temperature to figure out where am I. And then what that's led to is me being able to share information with you all that, yeah, it usually pans out the way that it's being presented, right? But that's only because I want people to move through this space with objective and correct information. The Just token issuer behind JMWH is a clear example of this platform's tokenization commodity backed by Argentine energy and agriculture contracts are minted. This right here is where I said if I thought I had an idea of how this thing would work and the underlying premise was correct, blow it up tenfold. And we're going to go through this, and you're going to see here in just a minute. It's a tokenized commodity backed by Argentine energy and agriculture contracts are minted when a contract is signed and burned when the commodity is delivered with zero transfer activity by design. Never mind that last part, okay? Like we know, okay, cool, it's probably not going to go on a public blockchain, right? But let's go back and let's take a look at the architecture of how that asset is set up. Just Token, the issuer behind JMWH, is the clearest example of this. The platform's tokenized commodities, backed by Argentine energy and agriculture contracts, are minted when a contract is signed and burned when the commodity is delivered. That means each time a commodity has got to be moved, bought, and moved from one place to another, a new contract has got to be created. What did we just talk about the last time we were talking about tokenization, tokenized assets, RWAs, attacking the railroads? I forget who it was. I can see the individual's profile picture. I just can't remember the name. So if you're on this live, please forgive me. Fred, my man, coming in with the galaxy. Appreciate you, baby boy. Yeah. Appreciate you, family. JM, appreciate you sharing the live. Thank you so much. We talked about this. We said if we're talking about attacking the railroads, right? Because people were always saying, hey, why don't I just invest in Ondo if I'm super gun-ho on the tokenization model, right? Because Ondo is probably one of the largest players in the stable. And you're right, they are. But what we were discovering is Ondo is a governance token. They don't have their own smart contract platform. And in fact, every single time, and if you go back and you take a look at the company backed that issues a lot of these tokenized stocks, you will see this. And if anybody wants me to pull it up, I'd be happy to, because I want to make sure, again, you guys have the most objective information. What's up, Christina? Good to see you here. Thank you for coming to hang out. Hope your Sunday is going absolutely amazing. Fred, appreciate the cowboy hat and the custom emotes, man. Thank you for using those. But we said if you take a look at a company like Bakkt, on their what could be looked at as like a pro forma, right? It lists all the pertinent details of the tokenized stock, what makes up the tokenized stock, and what blockchain it's on. You always see the same blockchains over and over and over. And what we very quickly discovered was in order for these assets, these stocks to be tokenized, a smart contract has got to be created. You guys have heard me go through the spiel before. It's not anything new. A smart contract's got to be created. In order to publish that smart contract to the blockchain, you've got to pay for it with the underlying token in order to push that smart contract live. So if it's Binance Smart Chain, you got to have BNB. If it's on Solana, you got to have Solana. If it's on Ethereum, you got to have ETH. If it's on Mantle, you got to use their coins, so on and so forth, right? Tron, TRX, so on and so forth. But when you go through and you take a look at the number of names that consistently pop up, it's only but like 3, okay? Ethereum, Solana, BNB, at least so far at this current juncture in time. But now what happens if those same assets, if those same blockchains are utilized for something like a smart contract for a commodity that's backed by Argentine energy, an agriculture contract, where every time it is minted, a contract is signed and burned when the commodity is delivered. That means another one has got to continuously be created. When the individual asks me what would be the value case for these assets, that gets presented right there. Because in order to get it, you'd have to be able to quantify, well, how often would an agricultural contract need, an agriculture good need to move from point A to point B, right? Well, we trade commodities, we trade agriculture every day on the stock market. You see what I'm putting down now? If you're paying attention, you should start to see the rapid usage of this coin over and over and over and over and over. Because every time a commodity is bought, a contract is signed, or it's got to be moved from point A to point B, it's going to take a smart contract to do that. In order for that smart contract to carry out its function, it's got to be published onto a blockchain. In order for it to get published onto a blockchain, you've got to use the underlying asset to pay for the blockchain to launch the contract. This is why I think positioning at this current juncture is so very important. Because you don't want to wait for the waiting room doors, right, to open, and now all of these assets can go on and function the way that they need to. You could I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility to say that you could see rapid price appreciation of this asset once things are ready to go live. You've got to be doing these things now. Because if you're doing them now, by the time they go live, you're already set. Your position has already been made. And you're simply allowing the market to do the heavy lifting for you. It's a lot like when people were going in and buying meme coins on Solana a couple years ago, right? Well, every time they got it wrong, they lost Solana. In order for them to try to re-up and try their luck again at the meme coin casino, what did they need to do? They needed to open up their wallets, and they needed to go back and purchase more Solana so they could go back and buy the meme coins. Well, if you were somebody like myself who's like, I don't really want to play the meme coins. In fact, I think it makes more sense. I'm just going to buy the underlying asset that they need in order to facilitate the trades for the meme coins. That's why you started to see Solana's rapid appreciation. I think the principle is the same here. And that's the point that I've been trying to convey to a lot of people when we talk about positioning yourselves in a lot of these RWAs, these tokenized assets. You can't buy Ondo and have Ondo have a direct correlation effect on what these tokenized assets are doing, because Ondo is only a, what is that word? It's only a, not a masterful token. What is that? Convergence, congruence. I'm drawing a blank right now, but it's a, goddamn, I don't know when you guys is going to put in the chat here. I'm struggling. What is it? What is that? Help me out, chat. What is that? Governance token. Thank you, Megs. Yeah, it's a governance token. I don't know why I was struggling with that. It's a governance token. Right? Dubs in the chat for Meg. It's a governance token. But in order to have that engine of tokenization work on Ondo, you have all these other blockchains that carry out the facility of making that smart contract do the things that it needs to do in order for tokenization to work. Hey, what's up, money? Yeah, we'll be in Toronto. I'm like 87% sure we'll be in Toronto. Questions. What do I think about? Damn, what is that? Where did it go? Neobank tokens. Bree, I haven't heard anything about Neobank's tokens. You'd be putting me on. Where's Evia? I don't know. She'll probably pop in here a little bit later. I feel like she gets the notifications late. Money talk for sure, bet. Let's yeah, we can definitely have that conversation. We can figure out the logistics of it for sure. Thank you. But that's what I mean when I say, hey, position yourself for when this happens, because we had heard reports. If the Clarity Act was passed tomorrow, there would be a litany of Bitcoin products that would go live at banks instantaneously because they've already been created. The banks, from what I understand, and I heard about this at Consensus, I heard about this at the Bitcoin conference. There was another conference we were watching live where it was talked about. Reaver says, I watched the 4-hour Soul. What did you think of it? The Soul Live that was published on YouTube. What did you think about it? I'm always trying to get feedback on that because I'm trying to gauge the feedback for future videos that we kind of do that same thing. But if the Clarity Act was passed tomorrow, you would be able to have Bitcoin products be made available at your banks instantaneously. The Bitcoin products are essentially behind, like this article is saying, in a waiting room. So this tokenization space is going to be significantly larger than originally, I gave it credit for. And I think significantly larger than maybe a lot of people actually understood, which again highlights the need to be positioned well before us getting there, which when people say, hey, Glenn, why do you like Solana so much? And I just completely nerd out, and I'm like, for this reason, this reason, this reason, this reason, and this reason. All right, same thing with BNB, same thing with, again, I think without the tokenization bit, Ethereum would definitely be on life support. I believe Ethereum has some problems going on in the camp right now. Vitalik was just rolling out a new, leaner organization when it comes to Ethereum and what their plans for that are. I need to read a little bit more up on that, but it's no doubt in my mind that Ethereum right now is having problems. And so people who are invested in Ethereum, my advice would be to tread lightly and keep a very, very close ear as to what is going on in the Ethereum camp. I know they've tried to pivot, right? The last time I checked, they were kind of trying to pivot to AI, and now they're trying to pivot to quantum resistance. And when you trim down staff, when you get rid of a lot of the big brains who are normally tasked with the responsibility of making those things happen, I don't see how you can have two huge undertakings and say we want to focus on the same thing. We want to focus on the AI, and we also want to focus on the quantum resistant. I feel like you need a large team to do that. So for ETH to say, hey, these are the two buckets that we want to carry, but to also trim down staff, it gives me a little bit of pause for concern. Donovan says Sui is Sol is the next ETH. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, we've had this conversation ad nauseum. I believe Solana has one of the largest runways of the entire crypto space. And I'm willing to die on that hill. Like, if we didn't see significant rapid price appreciation for Solana next go round, I would be shocked. I would be absolutely shocked. When you go on to hear more about JMWH, we see that alone it grew from $861 million in January of 2026 to launch to $2.2 billion in May. So it's grown quite a bit in just, 4 months? Driven largely by additional allocations from YPF, LUTs, I believe. That's not the Binance Lab, no. The electricity subsidiary of Argentina's largest energy company. The token has raised just $17.5 million in venture funding against nearly $3 billion in tokenized value, and now it meets roughly 165-to-1 ratio. That looks more like an infrastructure business than an asset manager. When we talk about plugging into mainstream channels, Chandler Fang of T54, and this is a company that everyone needs to put on their research list right now. I mean, like right now, right? I'm gonna pause. T54, text it to yourself, write it down, screen record this, do whatever you got to do to remember. Chandler Fang, the founder of T54, which builds trust and verification infrastructure for AI-driven finance, allude to the agentic commerce, the agentic AI, that is probably going to be a significant push potentially in the next cycle, points to distribution as a separate obstacle. Tokenized assets remain siloed inside individual apps rather than embodied in the platforms investors already use. We don't have the legislation. These things are being created, but without the go, no-go from a lot of governments, they're being pigeonholed. He said creating friction doesn't exist in other emerging asset classes. If you look at a new asset class like muni bonds, those are assets still tradable under traditional mainstream trading platforms, Fang said. I think RWAs need to gradually get into our mainstream trading channels. You know what's crazy? Is if everything is like a test and if everything is a pilot. One of the main trading channels that we have now for RWAs is tokenized stocks that can be bought from everything from Robinhood to a lot of different crypto exchanges, Coinbase being one of them, Blowfin being another. WEEX, channel sponsor of this show, channel partner of this community. Tokenized stocks are popping up everywhere, right? Hyperliquid is probably one of the greatest issuers to bring a lot of different attention to that space. Regulatory uncertainty compounds the problem. There's that, right? Regulatory uncertainty. He added discouraging adoption even with underlying assets are sound. Why is this problematic? Because right now it is July. We have been having this conversation since November, December, maybe even August of last year. So almost about a year. And we said, hey, if Clarity Act does not get done, Glenn, do you think Donovan will be a good teacher to teach me crypto? I don't see why not, right? He's in the community. Please don't say Clarity again. We need it. We need it. We need it. But Christina, whoever you go to, right, just make sure the tree has fruit. If it's me, if it's Donovan, if it's Money Talks, if it's Crypto Trick, if it's Fred, if it's somebody else on social media, right? Just make sure their tree has fruit. She said, oh, no, you said it. But we talked about this. If Clarity does not get passed, I'm going to say by midterms. And we really need it before midterms. If I'm being honest, they were like, yo, Realistically, if you guys could get this done before the end of July, that would be great. I got one apple left. If we don't get it passed before the end of January, that's not going to bode well for the markets, in my opinion. That's always been one of my biggest concerns, because we got midterms coming up, and midterms bring a level of uncertainty that it's huge. You don't know what seats are going to get flipped. Who knows what's going on with Mitch McConnell? If that situation goes left and they got to hold a special election, then others, we don't know. And elections bring in different people of power bring in different ideas. If you've got enough people on the same side of things, that changes legislation. So we can't have products like the one from T54. We can't have new asset classes emerging in within asset classes if we don't have proper legislation. We need it. Taylor traces the access problems back to what happens or doesn't happen if an asset is issued. We first issued these, and then it was like, okay, now what? He said in a podcast interviewing Brazil Crypto Report. And so we've had to go out, build things to show people what it can do. And I feel that's where a lot of crypto is. Hey, we're going to build this cool thing. We're going to show you what it can do. And if you want it, maybe you'll use it. A lot of crypto is a problem looking for a solution, rather a solution looking for to solve a problem, right? I think that's been the general consensus. Etherfuse has spent years building leading market stabilization or stablecoin collateralization structures and liquidity pools on top of its tokenized bonds, Taylor explained. Not because it wanted to run those products, but because without them, the underlying asset had no real issues, right? I mean, listen, when you got good engineers that can look at this thing from a top-down analysis, 30,000 feet up, and see, hey, what do we actually need from an infrastructure standpoint in order to make this run? Those are kind of some of the things that you get. Angela O'Neill, digital asset lead analyst, S&P Global Ratings, who contributed to the report, frames the gap as monitoring the problem as much as liquidity one. Tokenized funds still carry familiar off-chain risk around fund management, asset quality, redemptions. What changes in the technological layer, I always have a problem saying that, technology layer, he said. On-chain market moves faster than traditional ones. It does, and probably for the better. He added, which raises the bar for how quickly risk has got to be tracked. Those controls are important because tokenized assets only become useful at scale if participants can see how risk is measured and enforced. He raises a good point there. And I think that's also a bit of it, right? Like, if we don't have a way to track it, we don't have a way to stop it. If we can't stop it, when that train starts to run away, things can get squirrely real fast. And for the kind of money that you're talking about, especially in like money market funds or in some of these liquidity pools that they're talking about here that they just referenced, this isn't a little bit of money. This is a lot of bit of money. Like, if those go south, everybody's having a bad day, or at least a whole entire sector's having a bad day. And if you have a sector starts to go down, where does that contagion stop? So I can appreciate the fact that they're trying to look at this from like the big picture. But again, sometimes moving a little bit slow is the kiss of death. Sometimes you got to be, not afraid to run fast. The dynamic explains that one category the report calls genuinely mature, the U.S. Treasuries, right? I've always said this is the best representation of tokenized assets that we have, stablecoins. The only tokenized asset class as it reaches to production grade. I want to know exactly more what they mean when they say production grade. As it rates as production grade. Everything is compared to the risk-free rate. Taylor said, if you want to build a different product, you need a risk-free rate to compare the product to. And on the blockchain, it just really hasn't existed. Michael Terrapin, why does this name seem familiar? What is the CEO of Transform Ventures? They may have been a couple projects we were looking at a number of years ago, but this, Michael Terrapin, this actually looks familiar. And author of Bitcoin Supercycle, oh God. Why would you name a book The Bitcoin Supercycle? We talked about this. Everybody wants to kill the 4-year cycle. We're not at a super cycle just yet. We'll talk about what I think it needs to get to in order for us to have an actual Bitcoin super cycle, but we're Donovan, the super cycle, but we're not there yet. Okay. the CEO of Transform Ventures and the author of the Bitcoin Supercycle, arrives at the same conclusion from the investor side. The main issue or the main use cause for RWAs right now are 24/7 global access to T-bills, public stocks, since traditional markets don't allow this, he said. Of course, right? So it's cool. We all agree. Industry forecasts diverge sharply on how fast the gap closes. McKinsey projects a $2 trillion in tokenized assets by 2030, excluding stablecoins. BCG, Boston Consulting Group, estimates $600 billion to $1 trillion. What were we saying? $6 trillion? So we're close. Tokenized asset fund assets under management by the same date. Standard Chartered's broader projection, including tokenized or the traditional finance bonds, reaches $30 trillion by 2034. So like I said, there's a big appetite here, and the goal, the number that people are shooting for, these are not small numbers by any means. Even the most conservative of those numbers is roughly 30 times today's market. Now, even if it's just roughly 30 times today's market, what happens if all this positioning that we're talking about, and we just saw it here published in this article, every time a commodity, forgive me, y'all, I got something in mind that's bothering me. Every time a commodity tokenized asset is signed, contracts created, and when the commodity is delivered, it's burned, and you just repeat that same process over and over and over again. This space is going to be huge. This is why I want people to attack the underlying rails that make tokenization happen. Fred, Glenn, we may have found a gem by accident. Let me tell you something, baby boy. Nothing is by coincidence. When you are in crypto, you are no longer allowed to believe in coincidences. When you spend as much time reading, having the conversations, trying to have the big brain conversations, jumping in panels where people are like, let's really try to dissect this. If y'all don't get nothing else from this live, please spend the majority of your time in lives where people are trying to dissect and have the big brain conversations. Because when shit like that happens, or when you spend the vast majority of your time in those lives, you really start to understand the underpinnings of what makes, which is probably going to be the largest narrative in the next bull cycle, what really allows that to work, what really facilitates and carries out those duties and responsibilities. Attack the rails that make up tokenization. Attack the rails that make up RWAs. And while I cannot give you a statement of income, while I cannot give you a promise or a guarantee, according to the SEC, what I am allowed to tell you is that I am not uncertain. We're all good with that. Shmrek! Appreciate the Harmy. Thank you so much for that. Schmeck says, yes, it's in our DNA, our helix. I might need an intervention. Crypto Maxi. It is what it is. Listen, do y'all really understand what is at foot here? Okay. If you just move on from the my coin is better than your coin conversation, and if we can really get the community, the ecosystem rally around, because all this centered coming back from consensus. And the thought that I had, how does retail capture value from any of these projects that we're talking about? How does retail capture value from any of these narratives that we're talking about? And a lot of it was, okay, well, tokenization, cool. We understand tokenization, right? We get the stable coins, the T-bills. We understand there's a direct correlation, a relationship between Bitcoin, stable coins, and treasury bill. I understand that. But tokenization of other things, like how do people really derive value from that? And just being at consensus, being at the Bitcoin conference, which is why, right? Shout out to Fred, man. The Bitcoin conference, him being able to be in rooms that a lot of us didn't have an opportunity to get into. He heard things that we weren't able to hear. Be it we just couldn't get in the room, or maybe the talks were happening at the same time and we had to divide and conquer. You take what you pull away from one conference, you start to see how those same things, those same parallels are mentioned and brought up in other conferences. And then you piecemeal it together and you start getting more information, more deep dives, more reports. Maybe the next time you go to one is a digital conference and you're starting to sense these themes. And what we pulled here is, yeah, if tokenization is going to be this big thing, if you got banks and, we want more Bitcoin, or, we think the tokenization space is going to be as big as XYZ by 2030, right? It's very clear to see the inroads. And if you get this right now, You won't need the kind of bull run where you can put a blindfold on, throw a dart in any direction, and walk into some cash, because you are moving in a very methodical manner. You're moving in a very thought out, premeditated manner. You know where you need to go, and then you just execute. And when you've got that plan, it's stone cold, and you're willing to drive. You don't, oh, the new shiny stuff. No, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be enamored with all that. And I just think it's mighty interesting that the timing, by 2030, okay, well, if the halving is in, goddamn, if the halving is in 2028, okay, Bitcoin normally goes for a run the year after halving. That's 29. And if the cycle wants to try to repeat and dictate from other cycles, say it goes back to a 2017 cycle. 2016 was a halving, 2017 Bitcoin on a run, 2018, just before the market fell off a cliff, altcoins ran. So even if you get some semblance of that kind of cycle, the halving's in 28, Bitcoin goes for a run in 29. Then shortly after that, I wouldn't be surprised if you started to see some of these run, because again, what's after 29, 2030? Oh, we're expecting a 100x growth in tokenization by 2030, which means all of the hyper activity would have to happen prior to 2030. You see what I'm saying? Look at the timing. At a certain point in time, you're not allowed to believe in coincidences. Not anymore. Not anymore. Wonder if BTC pops off before the halving. If it does, the more the merrier. The more the merrier. I just think, and the last time I said this, I think like 5 people paid attention, so I'm going to say it again. The kind of cycle you are going to get the next go round, you, your mama, your daddy, your neighbor, your grandpa, Jimmy Jack Jericho, your best friend at work, the girl you're sleeping with, the dude you're boinking, I don't care who it is. You're going to have to move very methodical. This market is going to make you pick and choose. And if you are not positioned accordingly, you are not going to get the kind of returns you are looking for. When I read articles like this and they're like, yeah, for sure. So we've got all these basically like tokenized, these products ready to roll, and they're just kind of sitting in a waiting room. So y'all waiting on the government to get their stuff together. That's what you're telling me. Where's the money going to come from? Devil dogs. Exclude retail. I'm not even talking about, see, brother, I'm so glad you asked that question. I'm not even talking about retail investing in doggy moo moo coin. Okay? Let me since he asked, you put the nickel in, you're at Club Crypto Glen, you put the nickel in, you got to let the whole entire song play out. So Devil Dog, since you asked, we're just going to do it. We are going to do it. I'm going to try to do this in the most condensed manner. Oh, God damn it. They're not going to let me in. They don't like where my IP address is. All right, let's just do a little hop on my airplane here. I'm going to fly. Are we back? Are we back? Put a 1 in the chat if we're back. I just had to hop in my airplane real fast. I don't think Canton's a bad one. I think Canton has some promise. I don't think it's a bad one. Cool. All right, we back. All right. So Devil Dog, appreciate the Go Popular. Smack, appreciate the finger hearts. Devil Dog wants to know, where's the money going to come from? Well, when you look at investing, let me fix this. Come on. Abracadabra. Let me in. Abracadabra. There we go. When you look at the investing pool, definitely a player. You can. It's probably going to be a player. When you look at the investing pool, you got institutions, you got retail. You got institutions, you got retail. Retail is poor. These people are broke. We ain't got stimmies in so long. It costs more to live today than it has in recent years. Like, just take them and just put them aside. Retail has no money. Where's the money going to come from? Institutions. Why is the money going to come from institutions? Because institutions want to do institutionalized things, right? Let's take a look at this. Right now, we're on backed asset. These are people who are responsible for your tokenized stocks, all right? If I, put you right here. If I click on any one of these stocks, someone just say stop. I'm looking for someone just to say stop in the chat. Just say stop. I'm watching the chat box. Done so unapologetically says stop. Where are we at? Bullish X stock. All right. I'm going to click this information. Well, not information. My bad. I fucked up. Sometimes players fuck up. I'm going to click the BitGoX. The BitGoX is going to populate a report where it's going to tell me almost everything I need to know about this asset. It's going to tell me the tokenized stock. It's going to give me the investment objective, a brief description. But over here, a side that y'all can't see, I'm going to move chat off the side here, and I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see this. I'm going to scroll over. I'm going to move you guys over. Do you see what I see? What is listed on this data set right here? Okay, I got the issuer again, backed. I got the name, bullish X stock, right? I got the ISIN number, which is basically the number classification that gets tied onto every stock that gets tokenized. I got the ticker. I got the management fees, all that jazz. I got the issue and redemption fees, right? All that good stuff. The issue is volumes, how many outstanding shares they are. But what I care about is this right here. What blockchains is this on? Ethereum, Solana, Ton. Now, I understand Ton has been rebranded to Gram, so they're probably going to have to go back and edit this at some point or another. The point, stop pumping the crypto. I got to make sure people got this, man. The thing that I think is important is when you look up all of these stocks, right, and you come down here to the blockchain, you are going to notice that it's continuously a select handful. It's my thought that these are the blockchains that essentially have been like chosen, okay? And the more stocks that get tokenized, the more it's up 29% in 2 minutes. Who? What is? What? I missed a long? What? What are we talking about? What's up 29% in 2 minutes? Y'all know I'm like missing trades now. Wait a minute. we have to cut this live short. But when you start to take a look at the blockchains that get listed on these data sets, these reports, the information sheets, it's always the same handful of cryptos, okay? Now, that's just for tokenized stocks. When we go back here and we take a look at, let me move this over here. Let me move you back over here. Where was it at? 10 pin, not 10 pin. I think it's up here. Tokenized commodities backed by Argentine Energy, the agriculture contract, are minted when a contract is signed and burned when the commodity is delivered, okay? It's probably safe to say that if the tokenized stocks are all utilized in a very specific handful of blockchains, that the people who want to tokenize commodities are also going to probably use those same set of blockchains, okay? So we're not even looking at retail. Where's the money going to come from? It's going to come from the institutions. Why? For the same reason that they want to engage in all this tokenization of all these assets. Moves faster, it's frictionless, it means better business, they save on fees. Money isn't locked up for elongated period of times. Assets can go here, there, and everywhere. So for them, the use case has already been proven. What these guys are waiting on is legislation. Like I said, if the tokenized stocks they're using a specific handful of assets, the commodity folks are probably going to use those same digital assets. Now, when you hear that, right, take the conversation we're having now and place that against what retail is saying. What is retail talking about? What assets is retail talking about? XRP, meme coins. When you take a look at this investing space, there are two very different conversations that are being had. Conversations couldn't be farther apart. God damn it, Smack. Conversations couldn't be farther apart. You might get a Rolex from me at this works out. Hey, listen, I've been looking at a Bruce Wayne, you know? A Bruce Wayne on Jubilee. I'm just saying, if you happen to find one, I'll take it. Card, let's see. Full link set. Don't short me on my links. XRP's been added to the 401k. That's cool. That's cool. I just think we are where we're at right now. I think we are light years ahead of conversations we were having in like 2021. Light years ahead of conversations we were having in 2018. Right? I think institutions are going to come in, and if folks are not paying attention now, they're going to be like, what the fuck? Because the article just told you, this is from Forbes. Yeah, they're just waiting on legislation. Things have already been created. They are literally in a waiting room. I can't wait to see what commodities do with tokenization. I can't. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Let me get caught up here with y'all, chat. Remy, can we mute Schmack for a minute? Talking about that XRP talk. Yeah, listen. And that's before we even get to the banks even wanting to come in to public liquidity pools by way of DeFi. I heard somebody say this a little while ago. They were like, yeah, I think, you know, and if I had to guess, they were probably referring to a time when like crypto was just predominantly with hobbyists. All right, when the total market cap was $500 million, 500 million. I remember being in the space back then, like, oh man, yeah, this crypto, this is hot shit. Crypto stock markets, appreciate you, family. Welcome. Appreciate the heartbeat, man. Good to see you here. Hope your Sunday is going amazing. But I remember the total market cap being half a billion. Half a trillion? Damn, we might have been half a 500 million, 500 billion. Let's call it $500 billion. Just to be safe. 2017 total market cap, $500 billion. Excuse me, 500 billion. I'm like, yeah, man, this crypto, all this, wow. And it's like, bruh, how, you have no idea. You have no idea where this freight train is headed. You got no idea. $500 billion. We're walking around like, yeah, crypto, yeah, it's cool, bro. Oh my God. Oh my God. If you could have just had the wherewithal in 2017, all of the shit that we have now. What? There is a very different conversation that is being had in the crypto space right now. And I remember people saying back then, this point I wanted to make, yeah, you know, they let retail kind of start it and then run with it. And they were just kind of watching us interact in a sandbox. And the older I get, the older the space gets, the more I start to kind of like take a look at articles like this. I'm like, you know what? Retail might have actually been the beta test for that. And them just kind of sitting back, watching the little ants build the little, you know, hive and colony in the sand underground like an ant farm. Because this shit isn't structured for retail. If anything, I think retail's going to get priced out because they're not paying attention. How many people do you hear having that conversation? Oh, yeah, tokenization is going to be huge. Attack the rails that make tokenization work. I haven't heard anybody talk about it. And that's not even me on some, oh, Crypto Glenn, I so smart. No, I mean, like, I legit just have not heard anybody talk about it. I haven't. I haven't heard anybody say, how does retail capture value prior to coming back from consensus? Since before posing that question to the community. I mean, I hear Caveman having the conversation now, and I think it's important. Obviously, us here, we're having this conversation now. I think it's important. The point is, there's a very different conversation that is being had on these TikTok lives. And if you are not tuned into the right sources, if you are not tuned into the right bits, your positioning is going to be off. We're already not likely going to have an alt season like 2017, like 21. How many of these cycles do you think you can afford to be ill-positioned on? We got ETFs and ETPs and spot, by the way. Not futures contracts settled in cash. No, this is spot. How many of these cycles do you think you can afford to be off-positioned on? I think the train is coming. You might have one more, maybe one more, where if you goof this one, you can be like, oh, we'll get it back on the next one. Maybe. Went on Crypto Chicks Live. Shout out to Crypto Chicks. She did the all guys panel. She did the all ladies panel too. But she did the all guys panel. And the question was, are we early? Are we late? Overall, the general consensus, probably early. Right? I think we're not as early as most would like us to believe that we are. I think it probably makes more sense to move with a sense of urgency. But in terms of, like, if you goof this one, I don't think you got 3 more cycles where you can play catch up. I really don't. 3 more cycles, Bitcoin's probably going to be north of $1 million. North of $1 million. So imagine that. It's like, and it's a securitized index recommendation. I'm not really paying too much to Securitize because I already know Securitize is in bed with Ripple. Of course, they would want to see, hey, we're a family of companies over here at Ripple, and we got Securitize, but Securitize is recommending XRP. Of course they would, right? H-bar, I'm not really seeing the hype with H-bar. I think H-bar is getting ready to fall into obscurity. Just the way that I see it. But if you miss it on this one, I don't think you got another 3 more you can play catch up on. Another 3 cycles, Bitcoin could be every bit of $1 million. And at that point, like, ain't nobody grabbing half a Bitcoin. Your next door neighbor isn't grabbing at $1 million. Your next door neighbor isn't grabbing a quarter of a Bitcoin. Nah. Nah. You know what the conversation becomes at that point? Hey, man, y'all got any more of them Satoshis? Y'all got any more of them sats? You better get that shit while you can get it now. Oh, BTC under 100 grand? You need to be trying to gobble up as much as you can. Soul under $100. You starting to see the way Soul popping off? If I go down that back website, the vast majority, fuck it, let's just do it, because I don't think y'all hearing me, man. Cisco. Let's take a look at Cisco. I don't think you heard me. Oh my God, look at that. Blockchains. Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, Solana, Inc. Never really heard of Inc. Mantle, heard of Mantle. Uh-oh, wait a minute. Go back. Go back. You want to pick another one? Let's pick another one. Circle. Got these cheeseburgers, man. Y'all got any more of that Solana, man? BSC, Solana, Ethereum. What is this? Bullish stock. Ethereum, Solana, Ton. Stop me when you're seeing the pattern. Clean Spark. Let's take a look at Clean Spark. Stop me when you're seeing the pattern. Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, Inc., Mantle, Solana. You want me to keep going? I'm going to keep going. I could do this all night. The amount of time I have spent combing through this information. Cloudflare. Oh, everybody's website security thing. Are you real? Are you about Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, Inc., Mantle, Solana, Ton, XLayer. Oh, Coca-Cola. Probably shouldn't drink it, but let's see what blockchain they've issued their tokenized stock on. Oh, shit. Would you look at that? Solana, blockchain, Ethereum, blockchain, Binance Smart Chain, Ton. Ooh, Costco. Let's go get some rotisserie chicken. Damn, that list just got a whole lot shorter, didn't it? Now, what if I told you for the vast majority of these, it's like 3. 3. Attack the goddamn rails. Want me to keep going? I'll keep going. Dell Technologies. Dude, you're getting a Dell. Stop me when I'm not rapping. Stop me when I'm not rapping. Y'all be looking at Doggy Moo Moo coin and not be positioned right. Duolingo. Yo hablo español el Solana. Damn, that list just got a whole lot shorter, didn't it? Ethereum, Solana, Ton. My name is Crypto Glenn. I research and I know things. Anybody that's watched, what is it? Game of Thrones, you get the reference. Eaton Corporation. Let's take a look at Eaton Corporation. These are heavy hitters, by the way. Damn, Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, Solana, keep popping up. Ton, XLayer, Inc., Mantle. We're just going to keep. Eli Lilly, come get your Ozempic. Blockchains, Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, Inc., Mantle, Solana. Come on. We still haven't even scratched the surface of stocks that will be tokenized. Wait until QQQ and SSS and what's the other one? The other triple layers. Oh my God, when those shits get tokenized, bruh. But Soul is trash, right? Hold on, where's my? But Soul is trash, right? Whoa, that is not it. Oh my God. Oh my God. Who didn't clear off the buttons from the Christmas season, huh? Fire that guy. I got it. Take 3. Action. But Solana's trash though, right? Don't even play yourself. Don't even play yourself. We're going to keep going. ExxonMobil. Everybody needs gas because not everybody's driving a Tesla. Binance Smart Chain. Ethereum. Oh, shit. Y'all can't even see that. My bad, G. They said it's not safe. Like, what are we talking about? You know the market cap of some of these companies, and they entrust their tokenized version of their stock to be on a blockchain, but it's not safe though, right? Come on. Come on. I'm going to do a handful more. Ooh, Fidelity. Excuse me. I'll be goddamn if it's not the same blockchains that keep popping up. That's crazy. You want to make money in crypto, spot the patterns. Spot the patterns. Franklin, is that Franklin Templeton Investments? I feel like this is Franklin Templeton Investments. The income earnings stock. Oh my God, why is it the same blockchains that keep popping up? Let's do a couple more. GameStop, why not? For shits and giggles. Goldman Sachs? Let's do Goldman Sachs. Who the big boys going with? They got $500 million or Swiss francs. I think those are francs. CHF. I think those are francs. Honeywell. Some of y'all grandmas got a Honeywell thermostat on her wall right now. Who was their tokenized version of stock with? Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, Inc., Mantle, X-Layer, Ton, which is now Gram, and Solana. By the way, did you know Honeywell is also they're in the defense space? Did y'all know that? Someone made $1 million with Solana last cycle with a 50K buy-in in the bear market. You know what's crazy? I knew cats that was getting Solana at like pennies, like change when it first came out in 2019. I mean, maybe under $1. I have to see what it opened. I remember somebody told me about Solana. I'm like, oh, that proof of, what is it, proof of history or whatever it is? I'm like, oh, that's some bullshit. I'm not buying that. And just, I look back on it. I'm like, I fucked up. The good thing that I did do is buy it when it was $8 during the pandemic. $9. Okay, cool. Yeah, I knew it was like under 10. Let's take a look at Intel. Who's Intel going with? It's the same blockchains over and over and over and over again. You really want to find out which ones are going to pop. Find out which ones are going to be on the commodity side. Because they got to burn and mint a contract every time. Every time. You want to do anything with a commodity. Oh, my God. Somebody about to make stupid money this cycle. Stupid money. Every time they want to move a commodity, they got to burn and mint a new contract. Glenny with the Henny. What up, dog? Angel Money in the building. Probably on a beach somewhere. Somebody is going to make dumb money. And I'm just going to laugh. I'm going to laugh. Like, all of this shit gets saved to social media. And if I feel like the live is dope enough, I feel like if it's going to help it, like it gets clipped, put on social media, or the whole entire, how long we've been on this thing, and now we're in 9 minutes, it gets posted on YouTube. Somebody is going to make dumb money. I remember I was in Crypto Glenn's live and he said, Angel, appreciate the heart me. Thank you so much. Yeah. As well as the awesome and the roses. You must have been drinking. You out there. She out there. Appreciate you. Thank you. Johnson & Johnson. Take a look at all that Diddy and baby oil real fast. What blockchains y'all tokenizing on? Look at that. Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, Inc., Mantle, Gram, X-Layer, Solana. Okay. I mean, y'all better. Okay, today, tomorrow you could be, woo. I ain't hate no. Go and get your vacation. Y'all check out Angel's latest video, man. She, homegirl telling the cover off the ball. I need to get on that TikTok shop. Put some more, I need to get on that. She said the eyes. JP Morgan, same thing, over and over and over. People got to get position because the window was closing. It's closing, and if you get it wrong this time, I don't know. Are you in favor of spot for the next bull run or crazy long term horizon leverage play? No. So listen, Austin, I do a mixture of both. And I'm going to tell you why. I like to think I'm a pretty good analyst. And if you've been just keeping up with the stories today, like I've posted something on Twitter, hey, I'm looking at this, right? That one ended up doing a little over 830 minutes, $800 in 30 minutes. So, you know, not bad. It's like probably on par with like doctor salary, right? If you let it ride. But sometimes the market is going to throw a curveball at you that you can't see. And sometimes those curveballs are big enough to liquidate. So if you play the game like I play the game, we trade, we make from the trades, we roll into the long-term spots, because I understand everybody cannot long and everybody can't short and everyone doesn't know how to read charts. Spot is probably going to be your best friend. Okay? But if you've got the ability to do both, you're like, if I had a little bit more coaching, I could do that. Like, if y'all want the coaching on trading, like, you know, people have been asking for it, so we're going to definitely do something about it. I'm going to come back to that in a second. I don't want to lose my train of thought. You need Spot. Spot has the ability to turn an anthill into a mountain. The trading just acts as like a magnification for cash flow. And it can bring you returns back quicker. And with that, you can take those and dump them into your long-term holds. I'm a firm believer in if you can do both, get both. If you can't, long-term that bad boy. Do yourself a favor and long-term that shit. I thought about adding Sol and Hyperliquid. Oh, chat's moving. But might add Mantle price target for Mantle this cycle. I don't, off the top of my head, I couldn't answer that. I need to take a look at the tokenization. Like, I get Mantle looks really good for the tokenization bit, but it's a lot different if they're like, well, we don't really have a cap and we can just kind of mint at will. Kind of like Ethereum, right? We don't have a cap. We can kind of just mint at will. But I'll be able to answer it if I like take a look at the tokenomics of it. But I love when reports like that come out because they shed and they provide so much more context to conversations that we're having. Damn, you got to burn and mint a new contract every time a commodity's. Yeah, for sure, man. You're welcome. Every time a commodity's got to be, you know, sent from one place to another. Like, that's. Whew. Someone's going to make stupid money. Then I think about at the frequency, right? How often does that happen? And again, I'm thinking a commodity gets traded. You know what? Let's just, because I might be mistaken. There's like a delay. I definitely spelled that wrong. Okay, man. There's like a delay in my keyboard. That is so weird. It like doesn't want to. I don't want to know how to day trade commodities. Y'all see that? I'm like, this has got to be like the TikTok studio, because I feel like whenever I'm not in the TikTok studio. Commodities trade continuously on exchanges with trading hours vary by market, commodity type, major exchange. Okay, so yeah, let's trade it throughout the day. Throughout the day. I'm not gonna lie, that can be pretty interesting. That's gonna be the next bit of research I do. Okay, so cool. Who's got the information for token? Let me get caught up with y'all. Unapologetically me says I like to focus on the amount as well. I like to focus on the amount as well, especially with the burn mechanism. Yeah, I think anytime you get into a deflationary asset, probably not a bad idea. Boy, bye. I'm sober today. You doing a county bid? Where you been? Right? She on vacation. She working on her tan, I think. Freya with the Galaxy. Appreciate you, homie.
Another one.
Another one. Pin 1890, what's up, pimpin'? Fred, appreciate you for the Galaxy, man. Thank you so much. Dre T says, I'm learning so much in this live. Thanks. Appreciate you, brother. Dre, appreciate you for being here, man. Again, I appreciate each and every one of y'all, right? The 51 of y'all that are in here now. I get crypto's not super exciting, so we might not be pulling in like the hundreds, the millions, and millions. But no, look, if it's 51, it's 51. If it's 12, it's 12. If it's 5, it's 5. Guess what? Somebody gonna get this alpha. Somebody gonna get this information. So I appreciate y'all for being here. I really do. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world. Y'all decided to come kick it with your guy. Appreciate it. Brooklyn for life. Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? I always think about that Jay-Z Fabulous song whenever I see Brooklyn. Where Brooklyn at? Tokenized commodities. I want to know who has. I might not be able to do this on live because I want to respect y'all's time. Might definitely want to read up on that, the structure of tokenized commodities. How tokenization is changing commodity valuation. I'm going to read that. Don't mind if I do. Trust Wallet did a piece on those. I'll definitely pick them out. Tokenized commodities blow past 6 billion gold adoption. What was that put out? That was earlier this year. And can I save this? Okay. I'll get it up there, get it in my search history. I'm going to X out the browser just so I can do that. All right. Next bit of business I want to talk about, okay? Devil says, I learn something new every time I'm in this live. Devil, I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. What's goodies, Glenn? We about to get into that. I need to see if I can pull this up first without... Because y'all know me, man. If there's ever anything that I can share with y'all, I want to share it. But sometimes I'll be like embargoed on information. I'd be like, you cannot share this. Knock on wood. And I do it anyway. I'll do it anyway. I'm like, hey, man, this is my community we talking about. I gotta get people these gems. Sometimes people are like, hey, Glenn, we want to share this with you. Here's what we're working on. You cannot share this with anybody else. And sometimes I be leaking that shit. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. Oh, man. And like I said, knock on wood, it hasn't come back on me yet. I had one entity where it's kind of like, okay, we understand why you did that, but we'd appreciate if you wouldn't do that again. And I'm like, well, you know, if we're going to work together again, my community, I got to make sure they well fed and taken care of, right? That's one of the things that I try to work out of my agreements. I kind of reserve the right. Like, if you want to work with Glenn, I got to be able to reserve the right to, like, dish stuff off to the community. Because, again, I never wanted to be the kind of, like, content creator that just, like, has their community is just like farming them out. No, anything that I do, I want it to be a symbiotic relationship. I want it to be good for me. I want it to be good for you all. I want it to be good for the individual who's interested in working with us. So with that being said, I got something on this screen because I definitely know if I put this on live, like they're going to have a conniption. Let me check chat real fast. Because if they are not in here, just gonna give y'all the deets. All right, so I don't see any. All right, so I don't see like any like random user 2996548, like anything like that. Plot twist: whenever you're on TikTok Live, you see someone with a name like that, it's probably not just a random, monitored and recorded by AI. Yeah, you're right. But I don't know if they have access to that. I don't know. I mean, listen, if they do, look. If I get in trouble, I get in trouble. I would deal with the consequences later. You feel me? So y'all know WEEX has come on, and we are an official partner with WEEX. WEEX is an official partner on the channel. You guys have been doing a great job of signing and hitting the link and joining the trade effort. There is, I need to do this. Let's go here. Let's go there. For anybody who's like, I'm a trader, or I have an interest in trading, or Glenn, I just like, what are you about to tell us? On my Twitter account, if you go, the pinned comment, if you click this link right here, you're going to be able to join. It's like officially like the trading community of the Crypto Glenn community. We're trading on WEEX right now. We're not beholden to just trade on WEEX, but right now WEEX has put forth a pretty generous campaign for us. So anyone who signs up and uses this link right here that's on Twitter, you're going to get an active bonus. And you're also going to get some goodies. And together we have like, we're going to have like a rank thing, right? And as we kind of scale up, some pretty unique things are going to be made available for us. Some of this is going to come from WEEX. Some of it is going to come directly from me. Okay. So we've had people who have been hitting that. They've definitely been joining the community on WEEX. I appreciate that. There is a little bit of a kickback for me, but there's also a kickback for you all. And again, much of the kickback that I get just gets rolled back into the channel. We're going to do some really cool stuff. We're like going to bring people out to conferences. We're going to do some cool stuff where we get a group of us out there. We're all going to hit dinner. I'm going to take care of it. Y'all don't got to worry about nothing. Okay. You just got to get out there if I'm not taking care of the accommodation. So we currently have 7 initiatives that we can kind of start. So the first of which is, so stocks have been pretty hot, right? Stocks have been hot because they've been tokenized. Stocks have been hot because when crypto's been just having this lackluster performance, stocks have pretty much been the only thing worthwhile talking about in trading. So we have a campaign for depositing and trading stocks. We've got a stock trader 4 perk. We've got a summer of stocks campaign. And these are time sensitive. So for a lot of these that are like trading, like centered around trading, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at these guidelines here. And obviously it's just going to be like, hey, trade a certain amount of stocks in this time period. What we're going to do is I'm going to break down the charts of these trades. It's going to be imperative, especially if you click that link, especially if you've already, I want to make sure if y'all can see that. Okay. Especially if y'all already hit the link, and especially if you guys are like, hey, we definitely want to come on this journey because obviously we want to try to gain some of the incentive here. It's going to be time sensitive. So if I say, hey, we are breaking down this set of charts for these stocks tonight or tomorrow night, if you're signed up under that link, you need to be here, because what I'm going to be doing is the same thing I've been doing all day to day. Breaking down the charts, hey, boom, looking at this trade setup. Hey, last live, we went across 8 different trade setups. You probably can't see that. There you go. 8 different trades. We covered everything from Tau, Cardano, XRP, Bitcoin, Solana. We covered a lot. And if we covered 8, I think 5 have already hit TP right now. Today, I was looking at, what did I post on social media? Today, we did Bitcoin. What else did we do? Quant. I got like some videos I still got to put out, but we've done a few today, right? So I've just been putting out content, centered around trade setups. If you are on the community link for WEEX and you are trading with us, I'm going to tell you a date and time when we're going to be breaking down these charts. It's going to benefit you to be here because I'm going to give you the trade setup. Hey, this is what we're looking at. I'm targeting this here. I'm targeting that. Why do you need to do that? You need to do that, number one, because it's going to help the community as a whole, right? But number two, I believe each one of these campaigns has their own set of incentives. So as you start to move through these campaigns, you unlock certain benefits for your own account. So rather than just have y'all be like, all right, well, you need to trade 4 or 5 stocks in the next week, right? I understand that can be a little cumbersome, especially, I don't really know how to look at a chart. I don't know what I'm looking at. We're going to work through it together. We're going to take a look at the entries, the exits. We're going to get all that covered. And then as you start to move through them, you're going to notice, oh, I qualify for a certain amount of Tether here. I qualify for a certain amount of USDT there. Or I qualify for 100 or 1,000 here, there. And the longer, the further you go down and start hitting these incentives, the more you're going to get. All right. The thresholds, exactly. Also says, love that. So again, this is just like one part. Another thing that I'm trying to do, just kind of rein in the community. Like I said, we focus a lot on trading here. We are covering ever so more research. We got to get prepared for when this market turns, right? That door is closing. We got to hustle. How do you sign up? That's coming over from DT. If you go to Twitter, and you need to make sure you get the right handle on Twitter, because apparently I got fakes on Twitter. Just like I got fakes on TikTok. It's crazy. At Crypto Glenn, I pinned the comment, or I pinned the tweet. It's from WEEX.com. You're going to click that. It's non-KYC. So it doesn't matter where you're at. You'll be able to utilize the exchange. And the benefit of that is also going to give you one more exchange to hop on. Because when this market turns around, and eventually this market will turn around, when the market starts to go up and they go crazy, if the market starts to tank and they go crazy, if you're only on one exchange, ask people what happened to, I got fakes on Telegram too. Damn. All right. Any social, if you're trying to get a hold of me, make sure it comes from me. I didn't even know I had fakes on Telegram. That's crazy. Yeah, that's wild. The fake, these bots, it's out of control. It's out of control. But what was I saying? Anytime the market starts to move crazy to the upside or crazy to the downside, exchanges crash all the time, as people will happen on Coinbase. When the market starts to get through that fever pitch and people are like, oh, I want to get on and I want to move money around, you can't do it. Timed out, error 404, it's no good. You need to be on as many exchanges as you possibly can. I think at this point in time, I'm up to I did a count earlier today. I thought it was 28. It's like 23, 24. And as long as you self-custody, where's my... Goddamn, that's long as hell. Shit. I was over there reaching. I got a long reach too. So as long as you self-custody a lot of your crypto, right? This was on the EliPal. It doesn't matter what exchange you have access to. As long as you self-custody, you'll be able to get your crypto and move it to wherever you got to move it. All right. So that's the cheat code. Don't leave it on the exchange. Self-custody. And as long as you're on as many exchanges, you'll be able to handle your business. Okay. How do you manage that many? There is a system. There is definitely a system. Unique. We'll talk offline. I don't. Sanitary reasons, right? We'll talk offline. But there's a system. There's a system. Yeah, WEEX, we're definitely doing stock options on or trading the tokenized version of stocks on WEEX. Yep. So again, benefit, you don't need to be able to KYC. And the other benefit to that is if you're not KYC, they don't know what you hold. They don't know where the money's going. Need you to read in between the lines. If you know, you know. You could definitely label your cold wallets for sure. Fun fact of the day, and goddamn, who told me this? It makes sense. I think it was Satoshi. Even if you have one wallet, you technically have an unlimited number of wallets because each time you refresh, reset, you get a brand new seed phrase. You see what I'm saying? So even if you only have one wallet, you actually have multiple wallets. And as long as you have those seed phrases written down, you got as many as you need. What platforms are decentralized? DEXs. So decentralized exchange. Things like Radium, Jupe, Arrow. Don't use Beefy or Cake. Cake is, but don't use Beefy. Beefy is definitely compromised. That's from old school. That's like 2018, 2019. Okay. But definitely join. And in order just to kind of keep this thing succinct, there is going to be content that is for folks only in the community. So I think there's like a fan club, option, and I need to know exactly how is it that you join. I think there's like a certain gift you got to give, and that like brings you in to the fan club or whatever it's called. I will be doing content specifically for those people, right? So again, I'm trying to like ramp up the content here. I'm trying to juice this whole entire thing up, give more people more value, because again, this market is not going to stay down forever. It's not going to stay down forever. And I got goals I'm trying to hit, and I think a lot of you got goals that you're trying to hit, and where those goals aligned, I want to be able to work with you and make those things happen. So if you need to find out, okay, how do I get on WEEX? It's on my Twitter, twitter.com or x.com/CryptoGlenn. No numbers. It's literally spelled out as it is right here, @CryptoGlenn. It's going to bring you the first pinned tweet is that WEEX link. You hit that. It's going to take you, sign up. It takes you about 10 minutes. The first bit, as soon as you deposit funds on, you're going to get a bonus. Like instantaneously, you're going to get a bonus. And if you have any problems with that, let me know and I'll reach out to the necessary parties that be. CPG says, bet I'm going to join. Definitely do that. Like I said, it's about 10 minutes. No KYC, all that jazz. You should be good to go. Is there anything else centered around that? I want to get started on this stuff ASAP because one of these expires in the next 5 days. So if y'all can, hit it tonight. We're probably going to get rolling on this tomorrow. Like, I'm not going to lie. Probably going to get rolling on this tomorrow. All right. Fred with another galaxy. Goddamn. That's my dog. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you, man. Another one. So let me tell you my goal here, right? I told you where your goals align with my goals. I want to try to bring those in together. The other thing that I want to do is I want to be responsible. Another one, baby boy. Run it up. Run it up. Another one. Run it up.
Can you dig it,
sucker? Yeah. Cause acting bad, but somebody got to do it. Got Fred acting bad, but somebody got to do it. Hey, I want to be responsible for creating out the most amount of profitable traders this cycle. Last cycle, it was help people get to the money. This cycle, we want to take that, amplify it, and I want to be responsible for kicking out the most amount of profitable traders across all platforms on TikTok, all platforms on YouTube, channels, I mean, all channels on IG, if anybody is still using IG. So, muy rapido education. I'm talking about like classes off the platform, right? We're about to start ramping into the teaching age. Ramping up. So if you are not locked in, you need to lock in. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on YouTube @CryptoGlenn. We got a goal trying to get to that 100K mark on YouTube. That was going to be a little bit of a challenge, but we can do it. We're going to do it. What time tomorrow on Twitter? What time on Twitter? So normally when I go live, Jen, it's normally on TikTok. TikTok just has better reach. It's probably going to be in the lunch hour, though. More than likely, it's going to be in the lunch hour. I just feel like people are up. They got the sleep out their eye. They're kind of moving around. And then we'll recap at night. But this first one, I believe, expires on the 10th. We only got 5 days left. Technically, it's 11:47. We only got 4 days left because it's about to be the 6th. Follow you on TT. IG, just so I don't ever miss any. And I appreciate that, man. Like, again, because I'm trying to like touch all these different places. I know some people default more to Twitter. I know some people default more to TikTok. I was about to say Telegram, things of that nature. So I'm just trying to touch all my bases here. Want to know more about the WEEX partnership? I got you. I can definitely tell you about that. Can definitely tell you about that. But I mean, that's more of the same old. I'm telling y'all, a lot of y'all putting out content, a lot of y'all doing these lives. It's not always just like, what's the deposits? I believe the first is 100. You get back 40, so it's really 60. But you need to put in 100. But they'll give you 40 back. But you still get the power of 100. It's really dope. I a lot of times, and we talked about this a lot last cycle before the market turned around. You're like, we're in here just kind of shooting the breeze. What's the biggest one? 1,000, 10,000? So if you got it like that, you got it like that. Like you put that 10,000 in, like, yeah, it's going to be nice. It's going to be real nice. What type of teaching? We're talking about like everything from like breaking down the charts, the research aspect, how to find the new projects before they get listed anywhere. We're talking about obviously like pitfall stuff like that you need to be able to avoid in crypto, and just anything else that you guys want to know about. If it's something that I know about, I'm just going to open up and tell you about it. If I don't, maybe I know somebody in the space who knows something about it, and I'm going to reach out to them, bring them in. Hey, would you mind having this conversation with, you know, the family over here and breaking stuff down to them? I think there's a lot of different avenues to take this, and I just want to do my part just to kind of push the conversation forward. Vamonos. Sounds like a cohort to me. There's that word again. Hey now. Hey now. I'm late. What are we joining? To my folks who are traders, to my folks who want to be educated in the space of trading, WEEX has come on. They've become a partner of the channel here on TikTok. And we have a special incentive for everyone who's joining on a new exchange, WEEX, for them. If you go to the Twitter, I want to post it here, but like I don't think you guys can use the links here. Go to Twitter to get it right now. I'm going to try to figure out how to do one of those link tree things so that y'all got to be able to go over to the bio and then access it that way. But for now, if you come here to Twitter, even if you got to make a Twitter, I'm not on Twitter, just make a Twitter. At CryptoGlenn, the first pinned comment right here, the pinned tweet, you click that. It's going to take you to the sign-up form, create your account on WEEX. It's no KYC. It's going to take about 10 minutes. For most people, it's going to be very intuitive, especially if you've already joined an exchange before. One of the special sign-on bonuses right now for most people, I think it's going to be easily attainable. $100, you're going to get back 40. If it's 1,000 or 10,000, let me double check on that. I can get it to you. Obviously, I think it's going to be within that same parameter. So if it's like 1,000, I think you get back 400. If it's 10,000, I think you get back 4,000. I got to check on that though. Don't quote me on that. I got to check on that. But other than that, there are campaign incentives that we have going on here. And as you start making your way down and completing those, you're essentially going to be able to unlock more rewards on your own account, but then us together as a community. The overall goal as a community, right? So as we start to level up, what we're going to start to do is, so what we did in 2024, 2025, I think it was 2025, the Bitcoin conference, I just paid for people's hotel. I said, hey, if you guys are in the community, if you're using the affiliate link, that's going to take care of your ticket, right? You're going to get the ticket for a better cost, a more palatable cost. But for the hotel, I'm just going to pay for the hotel. So we did that for probably about 28 or so folks, Bitcoin 2025. It was super dope. Had a lot of fun. Didn't get a chance to do it this go around. I think I started the planning a little bit late, so I'm definitely looking at doing that again for 2027. Yeah, 27. But again, I want to get people. So in my community, my thing is tooling people. What the hell? What is that? What the fuck is that? What was that? What was that? Where's my TikTok? Was that a cat? Was that a lion? Leon the kitten? Who did that? Hold on. Is that Fred? Fred. Hold on, man. Hold on, man. Fred out of here dropping Leon and kittens, man, and these galaxies back to back.
Another one.
Ultra. Fred in here dropping ultra dubs in the chat right now for Fred. God damn it. W's in the chat, everybody from Fred in the comments, man. Appreciate you, Brody. That's crazy. Another one. Listen, come on, man. Do my guy right the Dondada way. I'm not gonna lie, like this. Did I tell Fred about this in Vegas? I might have. But I said in our community, one of the goals was definitely to hand out Rolexes. But the same type. It's going to get a little cakey. It's going to get a little, but just rock with me on this, right? I've always been big on community. I've always been big on like loyalty. I've always been big on like family, right? And so if we can really grow this thing out to where it needs to be, to the folks who are just like putting in, to the folks who are, trying to bring other people along, to the folks who are just trying to strengthen this thing out, being able to take those people and be like, hey, token of my appreciation. And I because watches have always been my thing. I've always loved watches. I have over 150 now, probably somewhere around like 200 from everything. Like not everything's like super duper fancy, smashy, expensive. It's just like if I like it, I see it, I'll grab it. But for those like folks in the community, I want to be able to have that and give that for them as a keepsake, just to be like, hey, because a lot of times when people come in, I'm like, oh, that's a new person, and then they kind of get involved in the ecosystem. Fred again with the mother. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man.
This is culturally inappropriate.
Come on, man. Dubs in the chat for Fred again. Listen, I'm serious, but that's legit what I want. I want to be able to give people something, because a lot of times when you come on this journey, you focus so much on the endpoint, and then when you get there, when you're able to attain the things that you want, you don't remember the journey. And I think that shit, the end result is cool. The journey is where it's at. So if I can like give people something like, hey, you may not always remember the steps that you had to take to get here, but this is just like a memento, something, right? A keepsake of some sort. You can look at that and be like, okay, I remember when I was on my journey. I remember what it was like when I was in those lives, when I was having those conversations. I was just trying to absorb as much information, when I was in the trenches, when I was, you know what I mean? Like when I went to my first conference in 24, the first Bitcoin conference I went to, I still remember every bit of that trip. I remember running into Rebel and Lusal the very first time right? I remember going to the fight, the karate combat, and Lusal was just like, he was just this ball of energy, man. He was like, oh yeah, this is cool. We all here to fight. And man, it was a who's who. It felt like being backstage at the damn Mike Tyson fight. It was in Nashville. I remember seeing everybody. I remember seeing the guy who used to have the gold Satoshi. Of course, nobody knows who he is. He had like all his security around him. I remember seeing Randy Harper, right? I think that's her name. Small chick, curly hair, out of New York. I remember seeing her off in the distance talking to some people. I remember meeting Rebel for the first time. I remember watching people get the absolute shit kicked out of them at Karate Combat. I'm just like, I'm taking all this in. Like, this is my first year being here, right? And to have the Bitcoin conference, Bitcoin magazine, just keep up with my stuff, because I'll come back to that in a second, and just remembering like, okay, yo, if you really put good out, like it comes back to you. And to have the Bitcoin magazine think highly enough of me to be like, hey, Glenn, like we like your stuff. Do you want to come out and check out the conference? Like, hell yeah, I want to come out and check out the conference. Like, you don't even have to ask me that ever again. Just know I'm always automatic with it. Like, yes. And now until like I'm 80, 90 years old, teeth falling out, like I want to be at the Bitcoin conference. You know what I mean? And just thinking like, this is so dope. And I remember like I still have T-shirts. I still have pins. I still have just like the goodies that you leave there with. The pictures, right? And I still look at that stuff. And it all stems from when you're on these lives and you're trying to build out your community, you're trying to give alpha and game and information to people. User 617798665B, you are like, who is this random person? It's not a random person. A lot of times that's somebody who works for something somewhere who's trying to find out if you're a good product alignment, product fit for what they have going on. And the more they tune into your stuff and the more they figure, okay, well, this is very on brand for what you offer people, right? People like they take a liking to you, or you're always giving to your audience. Then they want to, hey, would you be interested? Or we're kind of thinking about doing this. Do you know someone who that would be a good fit for? That's why I'm always super appreciative for the folks who just come and they hang out and they absorb and they ask questions. And it's like, because without y'all, none of this is possible. I would still be Crypto Glenn, but at the end of the day, I'd be like just talking to some random void, on the internet, So I understand like none of this happens without y'all. So that's why I'm always trying to figure out like, okay, what else can I give? How else can I help people? So again, when I say I appreciate y'all, like I legitimately mean that from the bottom of my heart. Like I actually appreciate y'all. Baby's Crypto, I appreciate the heart. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. How's your Sunday evening going? I hope it's going fantastic. Well, you teach people how to trade. Bree, that is the point. That's the goal. That's the goal. Of course, I got to set proper expectation. It may not be something that you get in 5 minutes. And I get right now that the idea is, oh, well, you just do this and you do this and then boom, you're a master trader. It doesn't work that way. I think one of the biggest disservices we have done, not just in crypto, but in the trading community, I'm talking about stocks, futures, options, crypto, FX. One of the biggest disservices we have done is we have not provided proper expectation. This took me 9 years. 9 years. 9. Is it going to take you 9? Probably not. It might take you 3.5. 2. If you're gifted, if you're super gifted, maybe 1. But I can't sit here and be like, oh, this is going to be a 5-minute kind of thing. Boom, you got it. I shared something with Fred in Vegas, and I gave him a very specific timeline. I said, yo, this, right? And he remembers. But for me, it took this amount of time to change your life. You cross that threshold, and sometimes there's no looking back. But you got to have access to the right information. That's why I say we're so far beyond the whole my coin is better than your coin. This conversation that we're having now needs to be centered around how is value extracted by retail? I'm having that conversation. Caveman is having that conversation. At least I've heard him say that conversation before, that it needs to be the center focal piece across communities, across the board. Because when we change how we're thinking, when we change the conversations that we're having, that in turn changes our investment philosophy. When that changes the investment philosophy, we're able to filter out what may not be a good fit. That's how you get to the kind of ROI that you want. Okay. So there will be trainings on teaching. First, this is worth millions. Literally. So one day we're going to have the conversation. And going back to the point I was trying to make earlier, being at the conference with Shaw is one of the things I enjoy most about the conference, because we get to have conversations we don't really get to have on live. Because at those conferences, it's more of a more intimate setting. You spend time breaking bread with people, eating, drinking, going to different events with one another, right? It's a lot of people that didn't know Fred had it like that. Fred left Vegas with more people wanting more of Fred. Stop me if I'm lying. Bree says, how do I join the community? Step 1, follow here on TikTok. Step 2, follow on Twitter, follow on YouTube. If the trading bit is, what you have an interest in, on that Twitter, on the pin tweet right there, you're going to click that. It's going to take you to basically the WEEX sign up page. It's relatively easy to create an account on WEEX, especially if you've already joined maybe 1 or 2 different exchanges. It takes about that same amount of time, maybe even less, because you don't have to KYC. Okay. And my DMs are always open. Fred became a superstar. Legit became a superstar. For real though. Legit became a superstar. When I was in Dubai, the whole time I was thinking about y'all. I was like, damn, and I'm like, what we got to do to get like folks out here? I remember talking to Rebel in Vegas last year or this year. Sal wasn't there. Sal literally sold all his earthly, worldly possessions and is driving around the country in an RV right now. Right? Crazy adventurous kind of cat. Jill, I think she just welcomed a new member of the family, if I'm not mistaken, so she couldn't, get a chance to be there. And it's like, okay, cool. We'll make exceptions. But I did tell her, hey, y'all breaking tradition right now. And a lot of times when you look at the Bitcoin conference, that's tradition. That's the homecoming. That's the Super Bowl. That's the kickoff, the start of conference season, right? So my goal is to try to bring as many people out to that venue as I possibly can. I got an opportunity to go out to Consensus. Caught up with a gang of y'all out there, right? And it was amazing. We got to find out how do we get more people to Consensus. We got another one coming up here in a few weeks in Toronto. Crypto Futurists, right? We're going to be out there. We got another one. Rare Evo is next week after next. I gotta see if I'm gonna be able to squeeze that one in the schedule. I already told Jill to be there next year. No exceptions. You damn right, Stevie. No exceptions. No exceptions. I actually believe Fred legit has a cowboy hat ready. Like, I know in my heart of hearts, this man legit has a cowboy hat already ready to go. I can see it. I can see it. I got to get mine. But yeah, I remember being in Vegas for the Bitcoin Conference 25. Me, Stevie, Jill, sitting down at where we at? Tao, right? Real nice dinner, just sitting there shooting a breeze. It was fantastic. And at this one, where we at? Out at In-N-Out Burger. Out at In-N-Out Burger, we had an opportunity to check out the Radium. Damn, get it together, Glenn. The Raiders Stadium, right? We got a Raider Stadium tour. That was super dope. You dropped the craziest gem at Tile. Which one was that? Oh, God, what was it? Give me a hint. Christina says, this has been a great live, good information. I appreciate you so much for being here, really. Thank you, Christina. Thank you. 4 hour and the 15-minute. Yeah, listen, I swear by that 4 hour. If you go on my profile, if you check the story, and if you check the most recent put up videos on my TikTok, all of those trades were damn near at least introed on the 4 hour. And then from there, I may have niched down and picked out like where I wanted to be and where I wanted to get out. I swear by that 4 hour. Swear by it. You want to become a better trader, bump up the time frame. I know it's real sexy to do stuff on like the 1 minute, the 5 minute, bump up to that 4 hour and then niche down. Yeah, but that stadium tour was lit. That was crazy. I've never, ever done something like that. But those kind of things are more of the kind of stuff that I want to be able to do with folks, right? We go, hit the conference, then we kind of venture out, see some cool shit, right? And just kind of, that locker room was crazy. I still got the stickers that we got somewhere around here. Yeah, they somewhere around here. Those are the kind of stuff that I want to do. Ideally, I'd like to do even like in-person like trainings with trading as we start to develop more complex trading strategies, and maybe have those off-site. Maybe start breaking them in by like doing them online at first and then have them out. And maybe even do like a whole entire trading summit, like trading conference. How crazy would that be? And ideally, the goal there is give people the tools, the information that they need to basically be able to give them freedom, whatever they want to do in life. And freedom for a lot of different people, that means a lot of different stuff, Hey, Stevie, though, she was, you look at her, you like, yeah, I feel like you were definitely in here. She had a very unique look to her, and she did not look regular. She just looked it, like she had the aura. It was coming off of her. Is it in Nashville again? Yeah. So next year it's in Nashville. It is in Nashville again, right? Next year it's in Nashville, yes. So get your 10-gallon hats, get your cowboy boots. We're gonna be out there doing the what is it? I can hear the song, I can hear the melody, I can't think of the song though. Poor Joe, appreciate the heartbeat, man. Thank you so much, family. Appreciate you for being here. Thank you. She had a wedding ring? I didn't see the wedding ring. Donde stab high. Good to see you, family. I didn't see she had a wedding ring. I saw that necklace, though. Pre-game some classes. Yeah. Was it really 6 carat? Damn. She definitely one of the players, or one of the former players. The hologram, yeah. The hologram with the locker room was super dope. Super dope. Says, yeah, I see, I was looking at her face. And was. She was a very, very pretty girl. She was a very pretty girl. Yeah. But I want to do more stuff like that. Who we got in Nashville? How far is the Titan Stadium? Start working on that right now. Where do the Titans play? Oh shit, they in Nashville. Oh shit. Nissan Stadium in Nashville. Y'all thinking what I'm thinking? Oh, y'all trying to go to the distillery? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Rabo. Y'all trying to get folks faded. What you mean? Oh, the distillery. I got you. I got you. But y'all got a new that's the one that's shaped like a guitar, right? The convention center? Oh, we also have the Bitcoin Summit in Toledo in September. I thought it was shaped like a guitar. Nashville Convention. Maybe I'm thinking of the outside, not the inside. Or I'm sorry, not the roof, but maybe I'm thinking of like the sides. It's supposed to look like a guitar. I think that's where it was at in 24. That's a nice venue. Oh no, the top does look like a guitar. I see it. Yeah. So one part of the roof on the top looks like a guitar. Yeah. That was a nice venue though. I'm not gonna lie. That was a super nice venue. WEEX is no KC. Yeah. No. Yeah. WEEX is no KYC. No KYC. Get a couple bottles of that 1820. Devil Dog's just trying to miss the conference altogether. 1820, we all gonna be passed out like this. Ain't nobody going to the conference. It's not giving the wallet option. No main office for BTC is out of. What do you mean no main office for BTC is out of SV? What do you mean? Oh, you can only get those at the distillery? Last time I was in Nashville, no, I'm sorry, the time before that I was in Nashville. A buddy of mine was getting married and we had a bachelor party out there. We went moonshine tasting for his bachelor party. Now, I do not drink, all right? Like, I drink on, like, special occasions, but I'm not, like, a drinker. Bro, when I tell you we had chocolate milk moonshine, apple pie moonshine, peach pie moonshine, just Everclear, like 1,000 proof moonshine. Whoa! Glenn was in that bad boy moving slow motion. The apple pie wasn't bad. The apple pie was not bad. I said, I see how it's easy to get carried away with this. The chocolate milk moonshine wasn't bad either. I was like, this is kind of good. This is kind of good. Now, I don't know how many moonshine tasting things they have next to Nashville. If y'all want to get into those kind of shenanigans, I'll like DD. But I got to be present and coherent for the conference. They got legislators open with open ears? What do you mean? What do you mean? We can definitely get it cracking in Nashville. That's going to be dope. I can't wait. open the blockchain governance. Oh, that's good. Hey, listen, anytime we've got a local government, municipality that's willing to kind of partake in the kind of things that we're interested in, I'm always for it. Even if it's just a pilot, right? At least get the people to be a practitioner of the technology and just kind of experience with it. I'm all the way for it. I'm all the way for it. All right, I'm going to cut this one short because I do want to upload this one to YouTube. And 4 hours last time was a little crazy, even though we're kind of doing like we were doing now, shooting the breeze. So what I'll do is I'll probably end this one, maybe get something to eat, jump back on if y'all want to shoot the breeze. If not, we'll definitely be back on tomorrow. Say like lunch hour, right? Anywhere from like 12. Fred, you got it, family. Appreciate you for showing up. Bigly. One more time for Fred. Fred showing up bigly. I was hanging out with Crypto Glenn on the TikTok, and he was dropping extreme amounts of alpha, and here comes Fred dropping the gifts. He showed up bigly. I would have won like that in 2016 if the election wasn't rigged. I needed a Fred. I needed it to show up bigly. Yeah, man. Brooklyn for life. You got it. Jen Tripp, you are absolutely amazing. You are welcome. All you guys are rock stars, and I truly, truly mean that. If anybody has any problems with signing up for WEEX, DM me tonight. I'll definitely walk you through it, right? Devil Dogs, I will see you, family. You give unselfish, and that means a lot. Bro, you ain't seen nothing yet. I'm going to start dropping cars on people. Boom! Oh, baby. But no, I appreciate that. I legitimately want to see people do well. I do. And this is like the best way that I know how to go about it. And I'm always like trying to learn, trying to see if there's a different way I can go about it. And if something seems like it lines up appropriately and it's on brand, I'll do it. But this is the best way that I know how. You get a car. You get a car. You get a car. I'm really about to start dropping Christmas presents on folks. Oh, to my people who won the treasures. Y'all should have been receiving those in the mail. If not, it's in the mail. So keep an eye out for it. If y'all want to do another giveaway, actually, I got like a couple more here. We can do some more of those, right? Those are fun. But yeah, y'all got any questions, comments, concerns? The DMs are always open. Hit me on Twitter or TikTok. Doesn't matter. One last bit before we call it a rap skis. If y'all want to do your boy a solid. Would you mind, if you have not already, go over to YouTube. Hit your boy Crypto Glenn up. Boom. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Trying to get to 100,000 subscribers is going to be a long way, but damn it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. Donovan, appreciate you, my guy. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, it's in the mail. Looking forward to it. Thanks again, Donovan. You absolutely got it, man. You're welcome. I think it was Donovan, XRP, Pero. I think it was y'all two, and Evie. I think. But yeah, I think I sent like 2 or 3 out, or the assistant sent 2 or 3 out. Yeah, man. Appreciate y'all. Questions, comments, concerns. Hit me in the DM. If for some outreach you can't get to the DM, thank you for the cowboy hat, Fred. Thank you, Austin. Appreciate you, brother. If you can't get to the DMs, just leave the comment under the most recent comment section on the most recent video, and I'll definitely get back. All right, tomorrow, we're going to break down the incentives for the WEEX campaign that they got going on. We're going to break down those stocks. We're going to take some trades. We're going to go over some trade setups. We're going to keep an eye on Bitcoin. And yeah, we're going to go from there. Some of you guys have DM'd me about some things. I have not forgot about you. You have DM'd me some things. You want me to take a look at some things. I have not forgot. Whatever you DM me last week, we're going to take a look at that tomorrow night. All right? So just remember, I appreciate y'all. Y'all be well, eat, drink, be merry. Tomorrow's Monday. Another chance to get out there and get it. Keep your nose to the grindstone. Remember, somebody loves you. And I will see y'all tomorrow, lunchtime. Peace.
Hey, Joe, come on. We're going to be late for the Crypto Blend live stream. Call Barack and Michelle, see if they're going to tune in and watch. We can see him chart Doggy Mundo coin.
This is the best president of the United States, Donald Trump, and when I'm not putting high tariffs into place, I'm watching Crypto Glenn on the Tiki Dark.
We are late. The Crypto Glenn live stream has started without us. You fail me yet again, Stall Scream.
Jeez, I'm excited about this.
You're watching the Crypto Glenn nightly stream. Real Alpha, Glenn, can you chart Doggy Boo Boo Coin for me?
I'm too old for this shit. You know what time it is when you hear this, right?
Let's get ready to rumble! You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing son of a gun! Woo!
This is culturally inappropriate.
Another one.